Welcome back to the Hub on Hollywood. This is our spoiler review of Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. If you did not catch our non-spoiler review, if you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch that video and then come back here for our discussion of the things we like and things we really don't like about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Like we said before, we did overall enjoy this movie. It's fun, but it's not without its flaws and issues. And Jamie, I'm going to start with my biggest issue.
Oh God, guys. This is going to be fun. Get your popcorn.
This has stayed with me for days, and it's been years that a movie character's death has impacted me so much. In that, one, I was surprised when it happened. Two, still like disappointed at the end that they were gone. And then days after, reminiscing and just thinking, they did that guy wrong. And that guy that they did wrong was Bob. Bob, the guy with the shrunken head, among many other people with shrunken heads in this film, but he's like the main one, who would take a bullet for Beetlejuice, tossed to the side, tossed to the curb, unceremoniously, needlessly, and painfully, I think. Like, okay, we'll get into the lead up to this, but basically, in this movie, Monica Bellucci's character, she plays Dolores, who is Beetlejuice's wife. Like, that was a fun flashback where it shows how they met, like back during the plague, and Beetlejuice was like a grave robber, and then she was this soul-sucking cult leader, and they end up killing each other, but not before they married each other in this quickie kind of wedding ceremony. And so, Beetlejuice's wife, Dolores, she becomes free from, like, she's dismembered, placed in several boxes. Danny DeVito's character accidentally revives her with electricity, and she puts herself literally back together, staples herself together, and then she is on a mission to find Beetlejuice. But while on that mission, whoever she runs into, because she's a soul sucker, she sucks the souls out of these dead people in the afterlife, which means, and they literally shrivel up into like this baggy flesh and die, even more so. Again, and then after this, they're gone for good, from what we are told in this movie. And so, like, okay, her intro, Jamie, was fantastic. Like, what did you think about her intro?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was super cool. I thought it was funky. I thought it was creative. I thought it was super cool how she's just very, with great attitude and pizzazz, like just piecing herself together and stapling herself together. It was very like sensual. I don't know. It looked really cool. It looked really, really cool. And it was a great introduction to a character that I don't think was utilized properly in this movie, but I'll let you get into more of that. I love that we also get the backstory of Beetlejuice, which is something that's totally new, and I think it really fits his character very well. We know who he was when he was alive, and and he becomes this, horrid spirit, I suppose. I don't know if you're human, you can actually be a demon, but whatever. I don't know about how I feel about the mechanics of the soul sucking, and why there's a body left over, and like, whatever. But it is in typical Tim Burton fashion, right? To have something that's very tactile like that, and the body plops on the ground, like very, very Tim Burton. It was fine. I liked it. It was within his style. It was cool. But I don't feel like this really cool character with lots of potential was utilized almost at all effectively in this film.
After her intro, like, her appearance, it goes downhill, and her plot of trying to find Beetlejuice, an afterthought throughout the entire movie, which I thought was going to be the main topic, among like the main most important things in this film.
Motivations,
but basically, motivations. And so basically she goes from character to character, and then, Beetlejuice, in Beetlejuice fashion, he dresses Bob in, like, to look like Beetlejuice. And so Bob has, like, pinstripe suit. He has, like, the wild hair, because the theory is that if Dolores runs into Bob, Bob will be killed, and that'll give Beetlejuice time to escape.
Right.
Hilarious concepts and idea, and again, that's perfectly in line for Beetlejuice's character. And so, but Bob doesn't complain. He okay, obviously he can't complain because his mouth is sewn tight, but he's on board. He's on board. He doesn't not the biggest fan of it, but he's on board. He's a team player. And then there's a part where Dolores finds like the office where Beetlejuice works, and or his soul-sucking company works, and you could see him like hiding underneath a desk, and you look at him, he's sad, like he's sweating buckets he's sweating because he's so scared of Dolores. Fortunately, she walks by, doesn't find him. The Willem Dafoe's character who plays Wolf Jackson, he is an actor who died, and now he's a detective with the same kind of charisma and character in the afterlife. Mm-hmm. And so there's a scene where he gets Bob into a confession room because he wants to find Beetlejuice so he can find Dolores. And he's like interrogating Bob, and of course Bob is like, he's a solid true player because he's not going to rat out Beetlejuice. No matter what Beetlejuice does to him.
He can't even talk if he wanted to. But...
Can't even talk to him if he wanted to. And so Bob is left in the interrogation room. Later in the movie, Dolores' job is to just pop up places and suck people's souls on her mission, but that's all she does throughout the entire film. She goes to the interrogation room. Bob's in there by himself, and this is where I'm thinking. My wheels are turning because in my head, surely Bob is not going to die. They're not going to kill Bob, this sweet, loving, simple-minded, heart of stone character. And so I figured, okay, Dolores is going to go in there because the detective has set Bob as a trap. And so once Dolores goes in, the police come, and then like a confrontation happens, and she escapes, yada, yada, yada. Things happen. No, she goes in, she grabs Bob, says, "Tell me what Beetlejuice is." That's all she says throughout this entire movie. Where's Beetlejuice? She sucks Bob's soul. He shrivels up into a fleshy sack.
His eyes
pops on the ground, and she leaves. End of scene. End of scene. She continues on. That's it. And I was left jaw dropped. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. They just did Bob dirty. Justice for Bob, because the worst part about this, and we were saying this beforehand. I know I'm going on this rant to Jamie.
Go for it.
Please
go
let
for
it flow
please.
through me.
Jump.
Like I thought. Okay, they're building Dolores to be this big bad, who this unsympathetic character who killed this very likable character that we are all made to like and be on his side. So like, oh, this buildup must be for something. The final battle must be big. Beetlejuice maybe finds out that she killed Bob, and maybe there's a little soft spot for Beetlejuice, and she finds out you killed Bob, and then they have this big mystical, afterlife battle scene in the climax. No, not at all. Dolores shows up to this wedding ceremony, interrupting Beetlejuice's marriage to Lydia, and then things happen. A sandworm gets drawn out, and then the sandworm eats Dolores. Yeah. And so
it was for nothing.
It was for nothing.
Yeah.
What was Dolores' plot? What does she do in this film? Yeah. She could have been removed from this film entirely,
yes,
and nothing would have changed.
Yes.
Except Bob would still be alive. And I don't know. I think it's because I view Bob as maybe a simple like a golden retriever, like a golden lab, who's willing to do anything to help you, to be there, to support you, and then you just kill them.
Yeah.
So this has
go for it.
Struck me emotionally. Okay, that's okay. Go ahead.
You sound distraught. Justice for Bob. Justice for
Bob.
Well, and that was a turning point for me too, because I felt like up until this point, the movie was delightfully demented, but when she killed Bob, it was extra long and drawn out too, and you see his eyeballs roll in the back of his head, and then his eyeballs pop. And it's so just sad. And it was for what reason? And it was at that point it crossed a line for me. It felt like this is too demented for no reason.
Killing a dog. It was like killing a simple-minded person.
Yeah, it went too far. It went too far at that point, and then for it to all have been for nothing. So here's my only hope. Here's my only hope for this is that this is all leading up to what the climax that we felt like we really needed from that character in this movie that maybe we're going to get in the next movie, right? That maybe Dolores and the shitty fiancé, that they are going to be teaming up in the afterlife, and they're going to come back as the big bads of Beetlejuice. And, and then maybe it will have been for something at that point. Also, here's my hope for you, James. I hope that when they defeat Dolores, ultimately, that all those souls get released and that maybe Bob comes back. Maybe Bob comes back to Beetlejuice. Because you're right, he was like the golden retriever, right? When all the other shrunken heads were escaped.
Running off.
Ran off immediately. Bob stayed behind. Bob was loyal. I felt that like there were really satisfying moments with Beetlejuice's character. Like when he saves Astrid, right? From the dude, and he stamps that passport, and he he sends that the shitty ghost to hell and saves Astrid and Lydia. That was really, really satisfying for Beetlejuice's character. But I would like to see Beetlejuice care about Bob. And I would like to see Beetlejuice welcome Bob back with open arms and be like, good job, buddy. Or something. Like, if this
Bob's too good for this franchise.
Yeah, Bob's too good for this and for Tim Burton. Yeah. But if this is like Tim's idea of like, people will just laugh, like, who cares about Bob? Fuck Bob, like, screw Bob. Then screw Tim Burton. Like, then he's wrong, right? He's gonna have a lot of very angry fans. Indeed.
If they had made Bob, like, again, unlikable, because Beetlejuice is he's the villain, but he's likable. He's like, a likable villain. You're
cheering for him.
But Bob, like, if you made him that kind of way, like, okay, you can have some fun with that, whatever. But he's such a again, dedicated, loyal friend to Beetlejuice, willing to be like the scapegoat, and if Dolores found him first before Beetlejuice, give Beetlejuice the time to escape, and doing all of that, and then again just the fear one that he had from Dolores, and then two, the sadness of like his soul getting sucked out. I'm like, whoa, oh my goodness! So that was a lot for me. So
and I think I think if the next movie has nothing to do with Dolores and they never bring her back, then that diminishes this movie a lot more. Yeah. Because like you said, there was no reason for this character whatsoever if she doesn't have, like, she could have been written out. Now the actress who plays this character is currently dating Tim Burton.
Yes.
He always has, right, a role for his current boo or wife or whoever he's with at that time. I would just really, really hate for this to be a character that he wrote in just so that she would have a role and then ultimately was
That's what it feels like.
Like nothing. That would be, I feel like that's a crime against cinema, against the audience. Like. And so
because
that's why I'm hoping for the sequel to vindicate him on that. If not, that's a crap move, Tim.
It really is. Like I was really disappointed because that was such a big like this battle between two like powers of force, like Beetlejuice, a demon who can like literally do anything, like make magic happen and make anything happen, versus like somebody who can go toe to toe with him on a mystical afterlife level.
Yeah,
that would have been very interesting to see. But literally all she does after her grand introduction is wander halls, suck souls, confronts him at the church, yells, Beetlejuice, where's Beetlejuice? Tell me what Beetlejuice is, blah, 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 blah. Gets eaten by a snake, 2 minutes in to like her final appearance?
Yeah.
And like, you really didn't need this. It was so disappointing. So that was a big disappointment. But there's so much more to this movie to go into, but I will reiterate, justice for Bob. He's too good for this franchise. My goodness. But let's see. So we have that. Jenna Ortega's, let's talk about Jenna Ortega's character. So she's Astrid. We meet her at a boarding school where people know her as like the kind of weird kid. Her mom is Lydia Dietz, who is like this very famous now clairvoyant. She has like this show of her own where she can talk to the dead. And Jenna's biggest gripe with her mom is that, her dad went to the Amazon somewhere, presumably died, but she, according to Jenna's character, Astrid, she believes that her mom, doesn't want to contact her dad or is not able to, and so that causes friction because Jenna, Astrid, she really misses her dad and wants to have that connection, but she feels like her mom, like, is not doing something right or refuses to, and so that's the rift between mother and daughter that we have. So I thought that was a really good idea. And so that's Jenna's motivation to go into the afterlife after meeting this boy, this nice boy she presumably, she meets, which that leads to a twist. Did you see this twist coming about?
I did not foresee that he was dead. No, I didn't foresee that.
Who's this? Yeah, who's this kid and what's the twist?
So this kid is actually a murderer who murdered his family, and Astrid can see him. She escaped from her mother's house after the fiance proposes to her mother at her grandfather's wake, and so she takes off on the bicycle and ends up crashing through the fence of this home, where she finds a boy sitting in his treehouse, and Jeremy, and they, they have a really great time. He invites her back, and so she keeps coming back to this boy's house, and she really likes him, and he invites her over on Halloween, and surprise, surprise, he's a ghost, which leads, Astrid to the realization of, holy crap, my mother was right. She wasn't making this up. Ghosts are real. Damn it. Because you're right, the friction.
And then she also has the power to see them.
And then she also has the power to see ghosts. And she gets tricked into going into the underworld with him. Turns out that he is actually a murderer who killed both of his parents and then died while escaping from the cops and falling out of the treehouse. And so he's trying to manipulate Astrid. He makes her read this incantation, takes her into the underworld with him, and it's a spell that swaps her soul for his so that he can come back to life.
Yeah.
And that leads, all of the adults of the movie to go and try to save her. They summon Beetlejuice, they all go into the afterlife, and they try to save Astrid from this horrible fate.
I do want to give a point for myself really quick.
Yeah.
Because remember, we did talk about what the plot of this movie was, and my what I suggested was that somehow
Astrid would die. Yeah.
Astrid goes into the afterlife. She gets lost into the afterlife, gets pulled into the afterlife, and then it's Lydia, Winona Ryder's character, who summons Beetlejuice. Because in the trailer it shows Jenna Ortega's character say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, and then you made to believe maybe she said it 3 times and he comes out. But then my theory was, no, I think she somehow gets into the afterlife, and then Lydia, Winona Ryder's character, summons Beetlejuice so they could both find her and save her. So point for James. But so that twist was a good one, that Jeremy was actually dead. There were clues, because when she first goes to his bedroom, she sees the book for the recently deceased, and he says, "Oh, I found this, or I got this book from a library," and you're made to believe that it's the book that the characters like Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, the book that they got. It's okay, that's a fun nod. But then there are more clues kind of sprinkled around, then you realize, oh, he's dead. And then, oh, he's not so nice. He's actually really bad. And he's trying to switch places with Jenna Ortega's character on the lie that, oh, if you come over here, I can show you your dad. So again, the dad is a big motivation for Jenna Ortega's character to go to the afterlife.
I enjoyed the that she got her Casper moment with this ghost, right? They kiss and then they're floating in the air, and then he takes her into the underworld, and then he turns out to be bad. My only criticism or critique here is just that I think that Jenna Ortega plays the same character almost in every movie.
Yeah.
And this guy, Jeremy, reminds me very much of her love interest from Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, is that the same exact actor from Wednesday? Because he looks a lot like him, with the llama hair on the front. So in that way, I'm like, I kind of want to see Jenna do something a little bit different. But it works for this movie. She's a little bit more innocent in this movie. But I do like that she gets her happy ending, right? She finds her father. The father saves her from Jeremy and Beetlejuice, and that's all very satisfying. But I think it was an acceptable twist and a good way to get them all into the world of the undead. I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
I'm just going to switch directions just a little bit. Delia Dietz. You were talking about how much you love her representation in this movie and how she sparkles on the screen. Were you expecting the twist with her? That
that she ends up dying?
That she kicks the bucket?
I was surprised. Well, I know they made a point, like in the movie and earlier when she says she wants to do this like kind of seance, or she wants to honor the death of her husband, which is again the reason why they all meet up again in Winter Place or whatever the town it is.
Winter River, yeah.
And she made it a point like, oh yeah, these snakes are safe, like they're defanged. And so when she said that, in my head I'm like, are they? Again, so that just kind of that little thought bubble popped in my head. I'm like, are they? But then it moved on. And then as soon as like in that scene where she's at the cemetery, she's videotaping herself in front of her husband's grave, and she's doing like, the whole spiel and stuff. She holds the snakes up, and the way the snakes were coiled, I'm like, oh, those snakes are going to bite her. Oh, those snakes are going to get her. And then sure enough, she got bit.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, left and right of the jugular, and dies instantly. And I loved how like afterwards she goes to the afterlife and she's like, where's the VIP lounge? Like this can't be like I'm famous. I can't be here. Like this is embarrassing. Yada yada yada. So that was really funny. Again, Catherine O'Hara, she's just so freaking hilarious.
Everything.
And she knows exactly what movie she's doing.
Yeah.
And she was spot on. So it wasn't like a shocking thing that she died. It was surprising for sure. But I think it fit well, and continuing the story of now she's in the afterlife and she's reunited with her husband who was comically killed.
Yes.
The actor who we shall not name because there's a reason why he's not shown in this movie, like in live action.
Yeah.
For crimes that are horrid. But and so I thought that was hilarious, and like the fact that they actually had the husband being in the movie so often. Again, so the husband dies, which I love the claymation.
Yes,
because they use a lot of claymation for this, and so they use the claymation scene of like revealing, oh, my husband died. Like, how did it happen? Like, oh, he was on a plane flying to an island to watch birds mates, and then the plane went down, and then Winona Ryder's like, oh, he died in the plane crash. Like, no, he survived the plane crash, but it crashed into the ocean. Like, oh, he drowned. No. It's like, so how'd he die? Like, oh, he was floating and then like a shark bit his head off.
Yeah.
And so that was funny.
Yeah, I love that they used claymation for that. That they didn't bring this actor back, but he was still like essential to the story. And the ways that they worked around having him in his likeness, and the fact that his head gets bitten off, so that when we see the remainder of his body later, in the afterlife, it's just, it's just a torso,
Yeah.
No head. Also, completely different voice. They didn't even try to. Yeah. I feel like they didn't even try to replicate his voice.
You didn't
exactly because you didn't need to, and I think in that way they kept the continuity of the story without giving this guy any like credit, which is I like the way that they did that. I really I was, when the claymation came up, I'm like I had a big reaction to that.
That was good.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Catherine O'Hara was great. I do want to just bounce back very quickly, but then we can move on. Back to Jenna Ortega's motivation, finding her father. They do find him like working like the stamp booth at this like the immigration center.
Convenient.
And then very convenient, but that's okay. But my thing is that like this was her big motivation, but I was unsatisfied with the reunion because I think like the father was only in 2, maybe 3 scenes. One of them is like she's being dragged off and he sees her. I'm going to help you. He rescues her, and then they're having coffee with Winona Ryder's character in like this lobby, whatever. And then after that, like he ushers them out through stairs back into the real world. And for how much Jenna Ortega's character, like how angry she was at her mom for not being able to, or either choosing to or not being able to, in her mind, talk to her father. Like there wasn't that emotional. I didn't feel that spot in my heart where like, oh, like they get to embrace each other and they missed each other and I loved you and I will always care for you, I'll always watch you and yada yada yada. So like they had like, but there wasn't that emotional scene. Yeah, they like oh, I love you, yada, I've been watching you, yada yada yada. I wish you guys won't fight because I love you both, I'm watching you. But there wasn't that much. And so again, he was only in 2 to 3 scenes at most, and then that was it. And so I thought that didn't pay off exactly how I wanted it to pay off.
I would have liked to have seen Astrid cry, you know?
Yeah, that would have been, or at least like embracing a hug, like a 3-way hug, like longer than like a second or two before they walk up the stairs or whatever. But had that emotional impact, and it shows, you know, the father died in the Amazon because piranhas killed him. So that's a funny gimmick or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you can have. I know the movie has a very good pacing, so it moves from scene to scene to scene, which is good. At the same time, I think you could have stretched that maybe a few more minutes longer. Nothing too crazy, but like I didn't feel the emotional impact that Jenna Ortega's character, I think she would have had for longing and missing her father so much. So that was a little nitpick there. Willem Dafoe. He plays Jack Wolfman, who is this actor who passed away. Sorry, Wolf Jackson. This actor who loved doing his own stunts, but one day he died because he was using like a live grenade in the scene and blew his brain or like his skull open, and you see his brain exposed. And that's how he died. But like in the real world, he's an actor who does like these big movie like detective or cop movies, and like he's like the slick cop and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And then he carries that character, that persona, into the afterlife and becomes a detective of sorts. And every time he's on scene, he was hilarious, he was charming, he was smooth, suave, he was great. His assistant, whose only job is to bring him coffee, that was a great bit. That was awesome.
Every scene.
So,
yep.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe knew the assignments, and he aced it. So that was a great addition to the movie.
I would say the standout performers for me are Willem Dafoe, are Michael Keaton, and Catherine O'Hara. Yeah. Just every time they are on screen, I was smiling. I was, completely satisfied and entertained, and delighted. Like, it was just pure joy anytime any of the three of them were on the screen. And I think that's what makes you love this movie so much. I mean, there were just a lot of high highs. There were some of the low lows, right? There was the Bob. There were the some of the criticisms that we have here. But yes, with the part of the brain hanging out and the fact that he's like, I'm an actor. Or, or they keep reminding him that he's an actor. It's a real nice, it's a little meta also, and it's just real funny, and it really works.
It worked. What do you think about the climax, the wedding scene? So again, Beetlejuice comes back. His plot is to marry Lydia and and do that. So he tries the whole thing spiel again in a church that was supposed to be the wedding for Justin Theroux's and Winona Ryder's character. So that didn't pan out because he interrupts it. And so, what do you think about that climax? I think there were highs in those final scenes, but there were also a couple lows. But what are your thoughts on how it ended?
I mean, I think what bothered me the most, we already covered, was the Beetlejuice's wife being useless. Having no part in that fight or whatever, not showing any of her powers, not doing anything, just getting eaten by a worm. But I thought, okay, I feel like the ending was a little bit rushed. That climax was a little bit rushed. There were a few plot holes beyond the wife. At the very, very end, when Winona's character, Lydia, right, is just saying Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice again, but very slow, and like, he's not even trying to stop her anymore. Like, he's just kind of given up at the end.
Yeah.
And the loophole in the contract was awfully convenient. And how was Astrid able to, like, read the book that quickly and find that loophole in the middle of all of the chaos? But the musical, what was with the music? What was with the singing? I know there had to be singing, right? But, like, I don't know, it felt like it made Beetlejuice a little too romantic, and it was I was so cringing and uncomfortable. The way I
justify it.
In a fun way, but also like, what the heck am I watching? What is happening?
The way I justify it is I think that, Beetlejuice, like, he wants to, his mission is to marry, Lydia and go into the real world again or whatnot. But at the end of the day, he's also a showman.
Go down the fort. Spill your guts. Who wants to go first? All right, I will. See, I'm willing to do the work.
swear the afterlife is so random.
You're that thing from my dream. Really more nightmare material.
He's like, he's a goofball. He's a demon. So like, yeah, he could have done things like very quickly and end of the ceremony and win and be the big bad who wins at the end. But he has to have fun with it. And if it's not fun, it's not worth it. Yeah, so if there isn't pizzazz, it's not worth it. And
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was just, I didn't know what the hell I was watching.
Yeah, there's a part where it seemed like it was going on too long, but then like it hit a point again where I'm like, okay, I'm back on board. And so like it worked for me. The Justin Theroux, character confessing that he's only dating and only wanted to marry Winona Ryder's character, so he could be rich.
That was satisfying.
That was satisfying. Again, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, fantastic. He's great. They didn't do any justification of like why he looks older, so I don't think you needed one.
No, I don't think you need one. And the makeup did a good job of like covering that. I don't think anybody's going to really care about that. But I do have a question, James. I do have a question for you because I had this feeling towards the end, and maybe it's because I'm just really messed up in the head. Did you kind of feel like you wanted Beetlejuice to marry Lydia? Like you just wanted this to happen?
No.
Because okay, it's just me. I'm just messed up. Yeah. Okay. It's all the random in my brain.
If they did, okay, so if they wanted to set up like we're gonna make a part 3 movie, marry them, and then like it ends with Beetlejuice winning. It's like, oh, it's kind of like Thanos, like Thanos winning.
I want to see
Infinity
Beetlejuice
War.
win, kind of. I don't know.
Beetlejuice snap his fingers and win or whatever, and then like, oh, that's how it ends, and then like people can't wait for the third movie. So I think they could have done that. I think they definitely are going to make a third one because of the money it's making and overall positive reviews.
Yeah.
So I think they will make a third one. But yeah, that would have been a great ending. It would have been cool if they had a battle with Dolores and Beetlejuice, and the Dietz family. They take part, and maybe they are the ones who like read an incantation or something, and then defeat them both, and yada yada, whatever. So there are multiple ways this could have ended better. Still a fun movie. Last thing I want to add is what are your thoughts on Baby Beetlejuice?
Oh Lord, no, not necessary.
It was
no.
When it was unnecessary. I will say, however, the design of the baby and for what it did was pretty funny. I liked that part. The whole giving birth to it with the Winona Ryder's character and Jenna Ortega's character were like, yeah, I probably didn't need that, but the aftermath of the baby just being there, like gnawing on Winona's leg and like looking up side-eyed, I thought that looked cute and creepy, and I thought that was funny. I laughed. But it was like nibbles. They're like little nibbles.
Nibbles! She was bleeding!
She's fine.
Listen.
And so I thought that was fun. And then the baby crawling on the walls and stuff. And like it was very good animatronics or very good practical effects for that baby. So I liked it. So I thought that was funny.
I just, when I said delightfully demented, but some things cross the line, like Bob and the baby cross the line. Like, it just...
Yeah.
No! God, I don't need that visual look. I've given birth. I don't know.
The birth was unnecessary.
Didn't need it. But, it's great for the movie. It's great. It's fantastic. It looks cool. It's super, super creepy. But it gives me the heebie-jeebies, so...
Yeah, okay. Well, those are my thoughts on Beetlejuice. Anything else you want to add? I think this is mostly covered. I want to
see another movie. I want to see Beetlejuice. I want to see Dolores come back and have some actual meaning. I want it to be meaningful.
Tim Burton missed his shot. I'm sorry on that. Like, no, you don't get to do that.
Like, but if she doesn't come back, it's even more meaningless. So I just
after what they did to Bob, if Bob can't come back, Dolores can't come back.
But that's the
thing. Justice for Bob.
That I think that she will come back. She will be thoroughly defeated, and that all of the souls that she sucked will return to life. And
they should have just done it in this movie. Then they should have just done it in this movie. Beat her in a grandiose way. Bob comes back in this movie. Everybody's happy. Like that's all they had to do.
James has a broken heart.
You missed your chance, Tim Burton.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're hurt, James.
I'm hurt. Ridiculous. Okay, well, let us know what you think about Beetlejuice. What do you think about Bob's demise? Was it justified? Was it unjustified? It was unjustified, I'm telling you right now. Well, comment down below. Let us know what you think and all that jazz.
Oh my God, is that baby Beetlejuice in the background?
That is baby Beetlejuice. He's somewhere roaming around right now. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to the spoiler review of Beetlejuice. Comment down below. What are your thoughts? Follow us on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, yada, yada, yada. Facebook, did I say that? At Hub on Hollywood. Like, subscribe, listen, tell your mother, tell your friends.
Yeah. All of the above. All of the above. Until next time.
I'm James.
I'm Beetle Jamie. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.